third and final part of the introductory unit. We'll pick up again on the abdominal regions, your tic-tac-toe game. So the right hypochondriac, again, is right hypo, under, chondriac, the ribs. Chondro is cartilage, so you have cartilage attaching your ribs so they're flexible. Epi, gastric, again, epi is upon, gastric, stomach. It's when you slosh around if you're drinking a bunch of water. That's where it's coming from right there in that region mainly. Left hypochondriac region, left, under, hypo, rib. Your left and right all deal with the vertebrae or the bones, because the right and left in the middle is your lumbar region of your vertebrae. So your lumbar, right lumbar, and your left lumbar are to the left and right of your umbilical region. Your umbilical region obviously refers to your umbilical cord, which you lost at birth, and it's now a belly button. Below the umbilical cord, you have your hypogastric region. Hypo meaning under, gastric, stomach. To me, it'd make more sense if you said hypobladder region, but because that's really down in the pelvic area where your bladder is. But it is under the stomach, or it's inferior to the stomach, not necessarily under. Again, your left and right iliac regions. Iliac refers to your iliac process of the pelvis, or your ilium. Your ilium is the hip bone. So the iliac process is the part of your hip which sticks out you can feel. So if you're diving for a volleyball on the floor and you get all beat up and bloody there, it's because you don't have much between your iliac crest and the skin on the floor. Brings us to part 3, or at least the click on part 3. Start studying now for your test next week. Do not procrastinate. Don't cram. When you cram, what you do is you don't learn much. You just try to cram it in for a test, and I don't want that. I want you to actually learn this for the sake of learning it, so it helps you understand. The more you understand, the more you can learn. So start studying now. Homeostasis and negative versus positive feedback. Homeo means similar. I say it means your home, right? You're familiar with your home. Stasis is like static electricity, standing. So you want to keep your home static in the same temperature. Your house, you like it when it's 72 degrees or so year round. Same thing with the body. For homeostasis, we like to keep the body at an existence and maintenance of a relatively constant environment within the body. We like our blood to be at the same pH, temperature to be at the same pH, our blood pressure, the amount of fluid or water inside our veins and arteries, to be about the right pressure where it presses out and feeds our cells, but not too high a pressure where it causes headaches and major problems. Variables are maintained near a set point. A variable is something which changes, the pH, the temperature. A set point is where we like it to be. 7.4 is a pH, 98 degrees is a set point. 72 degrees Fahrenheit in the house is a set point. Variable, we've got our oven. When we cook, temperature goes up. We've got our air conditioner, which takes it back down. We got fans, which blow cool air across to absorb some of that heat and take it off. What's a set point for body temperature? About 98.5 degrees, give or take, depending on who you are. The body detects an internal change and activates mechanisms that reverse or negate that change. So negative feedback is good feedback in terms of homeostasis. Okay, being a coach, I think negative feedback is good too, because I'm trying to get you away from bad habits. So my constructive criticism, hopefully it's constructive. Some of y'all take me as being very critical and negative, but I'm trying to help you. I only do it because I like you. So when you're getting too hot, your body wants to bring that temperature back down to set point. So it negates that change from 98.5 degrees. Negative feedback is a good thing. Components of negative feedback is the receptor. That's usually a nerve which detects a change. It monitors the value of a variable, change in temperature, change in pH. You've got your control center, which pretty much controls everything which goes on. Since the nervous system is one of the big regulators, your brain really is a major control center. It establishes the set point. You're programmed at birth to want to have and desire about a 98.5 degree temperature. Your brain then continues throughout your life to keep your body temperature about that point. Whether you get too hot, it opens up the superficial blood vessels so you can lose heat, you start sweating, or you get too cold and you start shivering and you constrict the superficial blood vessels to keep the heat in. An effector is something which effects the change. So when I get too hot, I will start sweating. My sweat glands are effectors. They change the value of the variable. When I sweat, the sweat evaporates. Evaporation is a cooling process. So how is body temperature control an example of negative feedback? Body temperature goes up because you're working out real hard. All of a sudden you notice you get red in the face, your hands get red. Your superficial blood vessels just under the skin, all those capillaries, they have little tiny muscles surrounding them. Those are relaxed. That's called vasodilation. Dilates those blood vessels so more blood can be carried to the surface of the body where hopefully it's cooler than 98 degrees outside, and that heat is then released to the outside area. The response then opposes that increase, which is negative feedback, brings it back to set point or normal level. So body temperature, the receptor would be thermoregulators or thermoreceptors in the skin. Control center, brain says, hey, we need to stay here at set point. An effector, nerve impulses sent to muscles and glands saying muscles either constrict or dilate. Sweat glands either sweat or don't. Muscles go shiver. So here's a nice little table showing you different types of effector responses with body temperature. Vasodilation and vasoconstriction I've talked about already. Sweating and shivering I've talked about. Pilorelaxation and piloerection I have not talked about yet. So the little tiny hairs all over your body, you have as many hairs as an ape. Okay, you just got very tiny hairs like the stuff on top of my head, which you can't see. But those little tiny hairs, even when you get cold and you get goosebumps, every single goosebump is attached to a tiny hair in your body. It pulls that hair up. Every hair that's up slows down the wind from ripping off heat from your body. So when it's cold, that hair standing up actually helps keep you from getting colder or losing more heat. Okay, stretching out, curling up, that makes sense. You're cold, you want to curl up, keep that body temperature there. When you're super hot, you just want to lay it all sprawled out on some cool floor somewhere to lose that heat. Negative feedback results in homeostasis. Again, you can go up and down slightly, as in this blue line in the graph, goes away from set point. Over time, your body's constantly bringing it back or negating that change to keep it at set point. Positive feedback is rare. We're a closed system. So if I'm cut, I think of Monty Python's The Black Knife. Dude gets his arm chopped off. Blood spurting out. Come on, it's a flesh wound. Come on. He is bleeding out. The body detects blood pressure dropping, so it wants the heart to beat faster to try to get more fluid moving to get fluid back in the blood as much as possible. Because now it's an open system, they've cut his arm off, he's losing more blood, and it's bad. But our body being a closed system, it's good. A positive feedback is something getting further away from set point. A system responds to the deviation from set point in the same direction as that deviation, basically getting further from set point. Usually doesn't produce homeostasis. But if you're having a baby and you're dilating, you get a positive feedback which says, okay, let's dilate more. Let's produce some more hormones, make her dilate more until we can get that baby's head through that cervix and get it out there so you have a baby coming out instead of going C-section. All right, if you click on the little Black Knight over here, it takes you to the link of the Black Knight, what I talked about when negative feedback is not good because you've now opened a closed system, such as the blood. Can positive feedback be helpful? Yeah, I already gave that away during childbirth. Stretches the uterus, causes contractions, causes more stretching, causing more contractions, until out comes a baby. Ooh, what's that? Pretty clouds. Is that a duck up there? Is that an elephant? Is that a duck elephant? What is that? Go to soccerdiv.com. In class, we'll do this. You'll take a quiz, and we'll see how you do. I will quiz you over these notes. As you found out by now, this is the third time. I'll throw some little quizzes at you. Just practice. Log in as a student. You've got to put your first and last name, which I'll tell you this when we do it, so this will be up there. Study, 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 study. Always study. Make studying fun. If you make it a chore, it's going to be hard to absorb. Find fun in everything, and you'll do well.